Hello. I wanted to talk to you today about anxiety and panic attacks. Does that stress you out? It does? Well, all the more reason to talk about it then, because the more you hear about them, the less it will stress you out. It's called desensitization. Things can seem really uncomfortable or even scary to talk about, but then each subsequent time you do, you realize that not only is it not so bad, but you actually feel better having gained control over topics that previously had control over you. Okay, so you've heard of anxiety, you've heard of panic attacks, but I just wanted to make sure you knew the difference. And you know I like to get you up to speed on things and give you the tools so you can be the one in control of your wellness as much as possible. So I figured if you learned about some of the symptoms of these common conditions, you could do the whole 3-step awareness, understand, and control thing and add some peace to your life. Now, in general, panic attacks are more intense than anxiety attacks. They can just completely come out of the blue. And because of that, the types of symptoms that come with panic attacks, they can be mistaken for some very serious acute medical conditions. More about that in a little bit. Anxiety is really varied in how and why it shows up and what it feels like for different people. First of all, it can be something that either comes and goes, or for some people, it's a veil over their entire existence that never leaves. Anxiety is more than just a feeling. It's a state of being and a state of mind and affects the way you see and think about your reality. You can be genetically predisposed to anxiety, meaning it runs in your family. It's prevalent in people who are naturally the worrying sort. Is that you? And it's exponentially more common in people with stressful jobs or jobs with unpredictability and a need for hypervigilance. Does that sound familiar? Anxiety can also plague you for absolutely no reason at all. Okay, what is it like? It can make you feel restless, edgy, irritable, the short fuse kind of thing. It can make it very difficult to concentrate, stay focused, and complete a task. It can keep you awake at night, even if you're exhausted. And it can cause fatigue, even if you slept a lot. In terms of your internal dialogue, you might find yourself perseverating about the same thing, like your thoughts on a loop about something that you're worried about. You may not have something specific vexing you, but you might instead be perpetually nervous and just sustain a feeling that there's always something to worry about. Headaches can accompany anxiety, especially because the propensity for holding the tension in your body and the inability to completely relax can make your muscles tight, especially in your neck and shoulders. And by the way, a good stretch is to hold one arm behind your back like that and lean away from it. I promised somebody I would include a stretch somewhere without being creepy. And when your traps get all jacked up, you may not even know it's a thing, but it may pull your vertebrae out of whack, and the inflamed muscles might push on nerves that can give you a killer headache. In this case, painkillers might offer you some relief, but they're only treating the headache symptoms and not the tight muscle problem, and so the relief is likely to only be fleeting. So, when we get into the territory of physical symptoms, here's where they can be representative of anxiety or a panic attack. And ironically, when physical symptoms enter the picture, they might be the very thing that turn a bout of anxiety into a full-fledged panic attack. Not as much with the symptoms such as nausea, the puking word, abdominal pain, getting flushed or chilly, sweating or shaking. But when you suddenly feel faint, dizzy, or lightheaded, your heart rate increases, and you have a shortness of breath, it makes you pause and start to wonder what the fuck is going on. That's when you might be acutely aware of chest discomfort and heart palpitations. Anxiety can cause very real physiological symptoms. You can literally feel your heart pounding in your chest. It's happening. And this may be the point where anxiety turns into a full-blown panic attack. Because understandably, you start considering that you might be having a life-threatening medical problem. And then the more you think of it, and how could you not, the more you become convinced that that's actually what's happening. I personally have experienced it before, and it is truly amazing how many thoughts went through my head at the same time. Like, are you kidding me right now? I don't have time for this today. Well, is it a heart attack or a stroke? If I drop here, it's going to be so embarrassing. Are these people going to help me, or are they just going to step over my flaccid heap of a body on the ground? And oh my gosh, who's going to pick up Jackson from basketball if I drop dead at this inconvenient time? And I wonder if my husband has already picked out a backup wife, because I've been checking my blood pressure a lot lately, so like he might have someone in the wings. I don't know. Who would it be though? Anyway, during a panic attack, the symptoms are very real and can become very severe, and they feel very much like having a heart attack, even though your heart is not, in fact, having a medical crisis. I'm sorry. Is there any water in this? Probably not. Okay. I'll just suck. That's a plant. Anyway, you can have severe chest pain. You can feel like you're choking during a panic attack, or that you're not getting enough oxygen from the air you're breathing, so you breathe faster. You can feel constant pressure on your chest, or feel like you're being smothered. You may feel the sensation of being detached from yourself or disconnected from the world in general. And all of this can lead to a very real and very overwhelming fear of dying. If you don't know how very real panic attacks are and what they make your body go through, you don't know to consider them as a possibility during that time. You don't know that panic attacks could cause these symptoms when you're having a panic attack. In those moments, you'll only consider a physical ailment if you don't accept that this might be a panic attack. Now, I've worked with many people who've ended up feeling embarrassed that what they experienced was a panic attack and not a medical emergency. It's almost like they're disappointed that it wasn't a heart attack. And that's because people judge themselves and don't show themselves compassion for mental ailments. And can you blame them when they have to fear the very real likelihood that other people might judge them as weak or unstable? The biggest component of being able to manage anxiety and panic attacks is first being able to accept that they're real, they're normal, and that they're worthy of validation and attention. Now, in the next video, we'll talk about building the skills to manage anxiety and manage panic attacks. But in the meantime, let's work on accepting how very real they are, how very common they are. Let's take the shame and embarrassment out of going through these types of mental anguish. They're both extremely common, and when you become able to admit and talk about them being real to you, you help others hear. You help them to make that leap for themselves if it's difficult for them to talk about. And having someone else who can relate to what you go through is another great tool in your toolbox of self-help for your wellness. So until next time, be well.